Oh my goodness.
How are you?
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Space Force.
The ripping and the tearing.
Oh, yes.
Coming to you live from Arcane Sublevel 7, It's Talk is Cheap. Now here's your host, Dan Hohlfeld.
All right, go.
Welcome to Talk is Cheap, where cheap is talk and talk is cheap, ladies and gentlemen. On the K2D4 network, we got another great show for you today. We are here live on this June 4th, 2019 edition. We're here live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Of course, the big news today, ladies and gentlemen. This last weekend, To the Stars Academy, the official disclosure by the government. Now, this broke down a lot of stuff. They went into the Nimitz thing. It got into Project Blue Book. Oh, and then basically it's starting to paint this picture of these guys had no choice but to make this secret. If they didn't make this secret, it would have been really bad for the public. It was a time of war. It would have caused so much chaos. For the government to come out and say, these things are in the air. We don't know what they are. So it's like trying to ease those people. But let me know in the chat. Great to see everybody here today. Did you guys watch this Unidentified To the Stars Academy operation? Because I am really curious to see what all you have thought there as well. It got into a lot of the threat narrative is what this has pushed. And this is their goal with it, to push this threat thing. Why did they do that? I think this is all, and it kind of gets into how does this work? Because you got Trump with the Space Force, and you know Space Force would be kind of a war fighting operation. So is Trump working with this deep state like this, or is he playing a 5D chess kind of thing and trying to show that he's going along to get along? And then it showed clips of 9/11, trying to instill that fear in people, and it just got really like, oh my God. It's when I was watching it, my stomach was going between this is great, and then it would shift and be like, oh man, they're really going to push this threat narrative. So, man, that's crazy stuff. There's a lot to break down on that. Can't even believe what I saw. But before we get to that, we need to break down some big news last week that I never covered. And it's kind of like we don't even think of it today. This is, ladies and gentlemen, Bilderberg 2019. Bilderberg happened this last weekend as well. Crazy stuff. And this was in Switzerland, Montreal. But the big thing about it and why this is so important, I should have actually covered it. They actually didn't let people know. Usually they know like a week, maybe 2 weeks at the earliest ahead of time where they're going to be at. They only knew like 2 or 3 days before it actually happened. So are they getting rid of the leaks, or did they actually, because you think these high level up people would know a little bit something before they, so they can send invites out, they plan their schedule. So I'm thinking the leaks kind of got pushed away on that one. But the big thing here, folks, is Jared Kushner, Mike Pompeo attended Bilderberg. When I saw that, I was like, holy cow, what the hell? Got it on screen here. And as you type in Bilderberg 2019 in Google, crazy mainstream media is covering this. We got Newsweek, RT, New York Times. Who else? Washington Post. I was baffled by that because usually I don't get the mainstream media coverage. But it's there. Now, why is it there? Well, probably because it says, like here, the New York Times headline, Secret of Bilderberg meeting draws Pompeo and Kushner. Now, when it fills their narrative, all the conspiracy theorists talk about Bilderberg. Well, now, they're on board with Trump. So, Pompeo and Kushner are at Bilderberg. So is this a psyop to try to like push them out? So we, and I don't know what's going on here. Are they just playing ball. Granted, it is just a meeting they're attending. Is it one of those 4D, 5D chess things? You can get people in there to see what's going on, start steering the narrative. I know half of me doesn't like it, but at the same time, what are you dealing with here if you got to try to infiltrate? Also, Henry Kissinger attended that meeting as well. That's another old man, and he's still trying to do it just like David Rockefeller kept on going with it. But this was a Newsweek article here. Silicon Valley in Switzerland, Bilderberg 2019 and the high-tech future of transatlantic power. So now it's like, oh, Bilderberg, yeah, of course it exists. Here's a picture of Mike Pompeo entering at Bilderberg. And then you have the CEO of Microsoft, Stalin Nadella, and then former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, and also that other, I don't even know what the hell it says, Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir. I don't even know what the hell that is. I probably should. But very bad taste in the mouth, and you see Kushner there. Of course, Kushner went to the meeting where Trump went to see the Queen. He was in there having dinner. I saw him. It's like, oh, very convenient. You were just at Bilderberg, and now you're having dinner with the Queen. Not that far away. You did have to take a flight, but pretty close relatively to the world. People don't know. They do have the Bilderberg official website, bilderbergmeetings.org. They're trying to make it basically, oh, there's nothing to see here. We published the list of attendees, and then we published the list of topics. By the way, the list of attendees, they never put out a full list. Mike Pompeo wasn't on that list. Kushner is. But some people come. It's one of those secret things, and they're just trying to make it normal and put it out there. Some of the topics that were discussed this year: a stable strategic order, because they got to have their order. What's next for Europe? Climate change and sustainability. That was a big one. There was some footage from We Are Change, Luke Rudowski, confronting these people out on the street. One of them was a lady of the whole climate change push. But they run away. They just can't answer simple questions. I know that they're not allowed to talk about what was discussed in the meeting, but why not just sit down and, if there's nothing that they're scared about, there's maybe, when I was watching Luke's videos, there's maybe 2 people that actually talked. One did it for quite a while. He seemed like a pretty nice guy. The other ones just run off. They don't want to talk. They don't say anything. It's like, of course that's going to draw suspicion, you idiots. So they must be talking about no good in there. They're also talking about China, Russia, the future of capitalism. We can't have capitalism anymore. We're going to try to get rid of that one. Brexit. The ethics of artificial intelligence, because we got the AI that's going to start taking off here, folks. And, you start looking at the machine learning stuff. I watched Apple's event yesterday. They're doing more with machine learning where it can start predicting stuff that's supposedly done on device. But the predictions there, where are we going as a civilization with all that? The weaponization of social media. I don't think that's talking about social media as being bad to conservative voices on the YouTube, on the internet, on Twitter. It's more about weaponization of how can we control what people think. And of course, they don't release anything here, so how are we supposed to know what they're talking about? Oh, we want to meet in secret so these people can talk about stuff at ease without having to be worried about it leaking to the public. Well, if you got nothing to hide, why is it done in the dark? Here's a big one, number 10, the importance of space. Space is going to take off pretty big here, folks. This is part of the To the Stars operation. But so Bilderberg wants to get their fingers in that, because this is going to be this is world changing, the space thing. And I know there was a flat earther in the chat. I don't believe the earth is flat. Sorry. But it's all about controlling the release of it controlling the narrative and make sure they steer it towards their direction. Now they're trying to make it look like they're being transparent with all this stuff, and that's where the Stars Academy is trying to look like they're being transparent. And then last but not least, number 11, cyber threats they want to talk about. Crazy stuff there. Let me go to, oh, here's the participants list. Like I said, Mike Pompeo did not show up on this list. But Kushner, there's Henry Kissinger, by the way, right here. But Kushner does, and he's right here. And he's on video. On video, people caught him there. So he was definitely there. Just, I want some more transparency. I don't know what Trump has planned, but come on. You see some of this stuff, it's like, okay, the Russia collusion is done with. Let's move forward and start getting this stuff out. On screen here, I was talking about We Are Change. This is one of the Bilderberg members. He actually stopped and talked to him. He's like, I see you every year. He doesn't have a problem talking to him. Like I said, this was only one of like 2. And then the other year, there was actually this younger guy that talked to Luke. But why? Just have a simple conversation. They're always running off. Nuts. So yeah, that's Bilderberg, ladies and gentlemen. Bilderberg! They always think they're hot stuff with all this stuff. So, should we start breaking down the Tom DeLonge stuff? There's a lot here to cover. I want to get into the show. I want to get into there's a couple articles. There's a People magazine article. Is it even called magazine anymore? People, whatever it is. Kind of showing the map, and we can kind of start to see how this is going to be released, as a plan that they got laid out. So let's go on ahead, and I'm going to switch some music here. Let's get a little groove going before we get PO'd about what we got, right? It's all public. Okay, so let's get into the Stars Academy stuff. Very important disclosures. Well, it's their narrative, but it's still important to cover this and see what it's all about. Now, Tom DeLonge is running this whole thing. Blink-182, former Blink-182 frontman. And he's got an ego. This has to be said, and it's not like this jealous thing here. That's how you control people, is with their ego, and they're using this to control him, whether they believe it or not. So I got a tweet up from him right now on screen. See if I can make this here bigger for you guys. This was before it was going to air on show. This is just relaxing and working on some art. ... Oh yeah, I have my show airing on the History Channel tonight at 10 p.m. Now, he has been pushing this to the Stars Academy stuff. I've covered this with Grant Cameron. If you go back and watch that video, you break it down on there. I forgot the other channel that actually, God, it should come to my mind. The other channel that broke out their investor thing. They had like 2 million, was it 2 million, something like that, investors. You break down on what that's covering. There's a part written up in there for his failed hot dog company to bail that out. And it's like, come on, man. If you're supposed to be part of the disclosure thing, he doesn't. And then he's supported by this John Podesta stuff, and he doesn't act like John Podesta does any wrong. This is ridiculous. I want to play a clip here. Now, I tweeted this out last week. Now, this is fair use, History Channel, so don't flag me. Guess what? I would love to break this History Channel down, the show, and show clips, but I know History Channel loves to flag their stuff. This is tweeted out. This is public. It's kind of like a trailer. Do not flag me on it. This is public stuff here. So I said in this tweet, use discernment on this. He had questions about UFOs and just marched into the government, and they told him everything. Sure, Tom. Because this, when you think about this, it's like, I had questions. I was studying this stuff. I made a few phone calls, went up there and just demanded this. Like, are you kidding me? How many UFO people have done this and they get turned away? But they are using him. He doesn't know he's being used. That's key. So let's go ahead and watch this clip. It's about a minute or so.
Completely.
Unidentified, Friday night, 31st
Sure.
attack.
Oh, God. Do you guys believe that? He just marched right up there. And he just steered this whole thing. How many people in the past have been doing this? How many UFO conferences? These people present stuff. 2001 Press Club. Stephen Greer is running that. People say, oh, you don't like Stephen Greer. I like Stephen Greer, what he... his base foundation stuff that he came out with. The thing I don't like is him overcharging. I don't like him, stream dropped. I don't like Greer overcharging for his UFO Contact CE5's event. That's what gets me. But he has some good stuff. So the 2001 Press Club briefing, you got all these people, these witnesses that went in NASA. I saw bases on the backside of the moon. I was in NASA. They laid out pictures from the backside of the moon with buildings, very, very secretive about it. They would swear on the Bible in front of Congress. They were willing to go in front of Congress. 2001. So then that led to and I say that Congress, that's very important because in the unidentified video, there's two pilots, Lieutenant Fravor, I think it's Fravor. Lieutenant Fravor was one of the pilots, and his wingman was a woman. She's remaining anonymous in that video. They went to Congress and did testimony, not public, of course. This was secretive to a couple. Actually, it said Congress, but it actually was senators. So I don't know. Senators must do the stuff in the Congress chambers. I don't know. That's what the hell. But yeah, so they went on the record there. So they're trying to show that we're starting to roll this thing out. Now, Luis Elizondo and Chris Mellon still have security clearances. I wonder how long that rolls for. I suppose for the rest of their lives, I would guess. But the show starts out, Luis Elizondo, he's interviewing this pilot in silhouette, this woman. She was with Lieutenant Fravor, saying that, he's pretending, he's sitting her down, pretending to take notes, asking questions. He's doing this because he has the show said Luis Elizondo had a security clearance and he can't come out and say anything. So he's trying to use their witness testimony to use that to push Congress. So it will force this is key, will force the government to acknowledge UFO are a national security threat. That's huge, folks. So he's using that to push that. Again, and we're going to break down some other articles here later. This stuff has been going on for like 70 years. They're a threat, but this has been going on for 70 years. Okay. Again, this whole show was meant down for a dumbed down public. It's just to get it out there, get regular people asking questions about it to get the public acclimated to it. And this whole thing goes down like it's a Roar group. They broke away. Like, oh my God. Because you know it's just all BS when you're watching it. And it's funny. You laugh at some of the things they show. Roar group gets together. They're not part of the government. And you got George Knapp in this thing. George Knapp, ladies and gentlemen, one of the people who should be like, know a lot of this stuff. And he's basically pushing the narrative. At a part in the interview, one of the persons interviewing George Knapp says, I'll ask you point blank, is Tom DeLonge being controlled by a small group of powerful insiders? And then he says, no. He thinks that Tom did all this on his own. He knocked on doors, made phone calls, and it just happened. Knapp, you sold out. What the hell? And that's the thing too. It's like, oh, we can get in an argument about this. It is disclosure. That's why it's so hard with this, because even I'm kind of happy that this stuff is happening. But to see it being controlled like this and the way it's going down, and to say they don't know what it is, but then they say it, they know what it is later. It's just a big, big mess. So breaking it back down, they go into the Nimitz thing. It's a Tic-Tac UFO. This the female co-pilot is with Fravor, who's basically a badass and dives down into danger. So he goes down there, investigates it. It's playing the scary music. Oh my God, we don't know what that is over there. And then she comes off like, oh, my heart sank. I didn't know what it was. This object flew past their aircraft and went 3,700 miles an hour. So it appeared 60 miles away. And then they land, and then another craft takes off, and that's the gun camera footage that you see. So it wasn't the same. I thought that was the same aircraft, but it wasn't. It was a separate one. So then you got later on, aviation experts are in this thing. They sit them down. You can see this is totally staged. Oh, it's got no engine. It's got no wings. Then it just takes off, and then you can tell it's not really authentic, their expressions. But the observables are real important with this, because that's what they talk about. Of course, Chris Mellon there, he seems like I always thought Jim Semivan was running the operation, but it's more looking like Chris Mellon is. But the observables, this stuff was right in your face. They only covered it a short amount of time. They talked about anti-gravity, instant acceleration, hypersonic velocity, low observability, meaning like cloaking, aka maybe shifting into another dimension, and then trans-medium travel. Like, that was the biggest part of the video, talking about that stuff, and it was really short. And then I got into the 2016, the WikiLeaks document, and then they're showing Hillary being all good, like waving and stuff, and then they show Trump, and it's like, it almost felt like it was like, oh, then Trump won and we kind of lost everything. It didn't say that, but it kind of gave you that feeling. Oh man, and then it just gets really, because then it goes back into pushes the threat narrative thing. We could have real trouble down the road. That's what those experts said who were watching the observables when they were talking to Luis Elizondo on it. And exactly, Proud Texas Lady in the chat, Podesta. And Luis Elizondo acts like it's such a big deal that, and it is a big deal, I guess. I shouldn't say that it isn't a big deal, that DeLong got to Podesta. It's like, but Podesta, look at him now from the WikiLeaks. He's one big pervert. But yet, these people are still walking around. Hillary's still walking around. That's kind of why I get frustrated. Trump needs to lay the hammer down and get some stuff going here. Cabals. That's pretty good. Sure, Sean says, I'd like to kick Podesta right in the cabals.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, man, there's a lot to break down here. I think we're going to take a quick commercial break. And then we'll come back and break this down. And then there's some articles I want to get into too. But if you guys want to call in and give your take, if you saw the Unidentified show, don't be afraid to call in. I'll put that number up and get your take on it. I really want to have a discussion about this. What you thought. Was it a slime ball operation? Or do you feel different? Stay tuned.
Have your voice heard today. Call into the show at 1-605-562-0444. Show ID 146509.
Please hang up and try again.
On sale now at the K2D4 Network store. We have a wide range of shirts to get the message out to the public. The Disclosure Now with Fisty, break through the wall of suppression. End the cover-up with UFO T. Let the public know that there is more going on than we know, and it is time to bring out the suppressed technologies and advance civilization once and for all. The signature, talk is cheap, it's time for disclosure. The Disclosure /Now T. Very simple but very effective message. It is time to change the world, and let's begin right now. And last but not least, the official K2D4 Network shirt. Support the broadcast and get yours at k2d4network.com.
Have a comment, question, or topic suggestion? Call our voicemail at 1-256-510-5234. That's 1-256-510-K2D4.
You're listening to Talk is Cheap with Dan Hohlfeld on the K2D4 Network. Broadcasting worldwide, it's Talk is Cheap.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. We just had the History Channel air Unidentified, this To the Stars Academy disclosure operation. I've been reading a lot of articles. I want to break those down here later on. This is the vehicle for disclosure. Now, I had M and Miss M on the other week. I tried to get M to ask some of his contacts about this. He chooses to ignore it. This is disclosure. This is what they're going to use. So I wish he would ask them about it, because this is important. It will be the vehicle for delivery. So again, let's get the phone lines up on the screen. I would love to hear from you guys. See if you watch this. 1-605-562-0444. 1-605-562-0444. Put a caller ID in 146509. I'd love to get you up on the show. Hear what you have to say about this. This controlled operation. Got Podesta screwing around, acting like he's part of the whole big thing. And like I said, the way the whole operation went, if Hillary would have got it, things would have been different. No, that's the thing too. You get Tom DeLonge on there and he talks about, I've been researching this stuff for 25 years. You never came across the corruption that Hillary Clinton was in, the Clintons, period. That should have been so blatant. He turns a blind eye to that. How can you do that? And you almost think, maybe he's just using it to his benefit. But no, I really, truly believe that he thinks, because I saw him tweet, he's definitely pushing a left narrative with the whole Comey thing. Because he tweeted out, Comey is my homie. This guy's corrupt. Anyway, back to the Stars Academy thing. There's another section there I want to talk about. Chris Mellon. Like I said, there was a part there. They showed Chris Mellon talking while he was in his post, in the Pentagon there. When 9/11 happened, they showed that to instill that fear into this video. The Mellons had a power in history. They've been in the banking, the operations, and all that. Chris Mellon comes out and says he doesn't feel that these craft are secret craft. It shows a part where he says, I talked to the guys at Area 51, and I said, hey, do you see weird craft at night? And they say, yeah, we do. It shined at not that the weird craft was at Area 50, like their craft, but it was like alien craft, and they see it all the time. Give me a break. They're testing reverse engineering that stuff down there. That was a red flag. And then they open up about Project Blue Book. They investigated over 12,000 sightings. They concluded UFOs were no threat. There was some unexplained ones, but they had to shut this thing down real quick to ease the public fear. They had the Cold War going on. So Chris Mellon says they needed to discredit this phenomenon. So this is part of the whole operation where they're trying to ease the fears of the people. Ease the fears, and this is key here too, because this whole thing is going to come out. People are be like, well, this stuff was here for 70 years. They're laying the seeds now to say why they did what they did, so they don't get looked like the bad guys for keeping it secret. And then when the season goes through, they finish the season off. Fravor at the end, by the way, in quotes here, he says, of course, he was the pilot for the Nimitz operation. He says, is this ET or is this Independence Day? And right now, we don't know. And then it goes boom, it plays all that scary music coming up this season on Unidentified. And they got 5 episodes yet. And then it shows more witness testimony. And then it gets into they're shutting down our nuclear arsenal at a time of war. We got to consider that a threat. We're just like destroying the planet with these nuclear weapons. And we're just supposed to like be okay with that? Now, there's a lot to break down on this. I was looking at some other articles. We got Newsweek over here. There's a lot here. Tom DeLonge, America has been investigating UFOs for years. Time for the rest of the world to catch up. Now, I went through and highlighted some parts that I thought were important. Like I said, there is a lot. We'll try to breeze through it. But this is how we get the roadmap. Because they'll have the show for the public, because they don't read. The dumbed down public. And then they put little pieces of tidbits, puzzle pieces in these articles when you read them. And then it's like, oh, you can really get a very good map of what's going on here. Again, like I said, Tom DeLonge was looking at this 25 years ago. He was on his tour bus. He was reading the book Timothy Good, Above Top Secret. These craft were real and, in fact, interacting with nuclear missiles, NASA's missions and facilities, astronauts, and even civilians. How did they travel at such incredible speeds? Or who or what are they? That's the big question. Because then you get to, after who they are, it's what kind of technology is that? And that's what the government's afraid of. After 1947, high-level military and government personnel started witnessing unidentified objects in the sky. During World War II, UFOs appeared over battlefields, nuclear weapons facilities, and even the U.S. Capitol. There it is. It's finally admitted. People say that U.S. Capitol picture with those UFOs above it are fake. You try to show that to people, that's fake. No, it's not. It's all part of it. They just covered it up. Project Blue Book, 10% could not be explained by science. People at the highest levels of our intelligence agencies and military branches, new cohorts encouraged, this is an important part right here that I got to show, because they encouraged him to create TTSA, To the Stars Academy. This was all set up, folks, and people are trying to act like Tom DeLonge is this lone person. He came up with this idea himself. He set it up. He got these people together and went through with it. No, he was encouraged to do this by people in our government. Team members share a common frustration. So we're talking about the Chris Mellon, everybody on his team there. They want to disrupt the status quo to protect the American people by making them aware of what we need to know about our skies. That was the first article. I'm going to break down this next article. This one's really long. But this is all important, folks. If this is how disclosure is going, we got to get the best insight we can. This is on People. So it used to be People magazine, but nobody buys magazines anymore. Aliens exist. Tom DeLonge on leaving Blink 182 to blow the lid off the biggest secret on Earth. They're making Tom DeLonge be a big messiah here. And it's not about credit or anything like that. It's just there's a lot more thorough investigators in this field that should be presenting it. But they're just using him to, again, push it to the public because he's got such a big public name. DeLonge's claims that the United States Department of Defense were investigating UFOs were dismissed by conspiracy theory fodder until December 2017, when the New York Times published an expose co-authored by 2 Pulitzer Prize winners, by the way. That gives it more credibility because it's no more tinfoil hat people writing articles. These are Pulitzer Prize winners. Now we got some credibility. That confirmed the existence of the Pentagon's hidden Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Again, his team, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff, Steve Justice, and Louis Elizondo, are together. It says, together enough ex-government to convince even the most skeptic that we may not be alone. And then they have to put right there, or maybe not. So they're still doing the push-pull. I like to call it the push-pull. We're going to go with that term. What do you think?
Think you can handle that?
So again, this last Memorial Day weekend, 5 Navy pilots came out forward, claimed that they saw unexplained aircraft off the eastern seaboard on an almost daily basis between 2014 and 2015. That's important. They're using the pilots because they got so many years of experience. They've been doing this a lot. This will help ease the public instead of somebody crazy, quote unquote crazy like me, to say that UFOs exist. If they have a pilot saying that, hey, this is unexplained, we don't know what it is, now they can take the next step. Curious to know what the next step will be, because you go from pilots talking about it. I guess it's going to be the materials, which they talked about that a year ago, that they had these metamaterials that we're going to start analyzing. I think that's going to happen in that show. The more I think about it, because I did see a clip where they had some materials pixelated out on screen. Okay, so for a long period of time, this was largely classified national security. But thanks to the Stars Academy, we now have a vehicle to transition a lot of those learnings over to the public for the first time. Because you have to have a credible front for the people. We have evidence for people to look at, to digest, and hopefully over time, get them to a place where they can live with this reality. Acclimation, get the people in there to say, oh, there's something here. Because you talk about this stuff with people even at your work. They say you're crazy. This will help get them to start realizing what's going on, acclimating to, well, here's the science. Because a lot of them are nuts and bolts that say you're crazy. Because they don't understand like dimension shifts and all that. That's like, it's nothing for us to think about that. Okay, so now this is how they basically say that these guys did a good thing by hiding this from us. This was very important to break this part down. Because I think even Grant Cameron talked about this when I had him on. Oh, they did a good job at hiding it. They were just looking out for our best interests. So the military or intelligence services, this is an example. Someone's trying to sneak a nuclear weapon through the door, like the border of Canada or Mexico. So they basically make a plan, and the plan is to hopefully keep us safe. So they take care of the threat. Somebody brought a nuclear weapon over the border. They take care of it. We don't hear about it. We don't have to think about it. It's on their shoulders. So, and this is DeLong's interview. So we've empowered some really smart people to take this stress on their own shoulders so we don't have to worry about it. I walked away saying these guys are national heroes. See what they did a perfect job of getting him groomed for this. Get him in there. Oh, I made phone calls. I did all this stuff. I went in there. Later in this article, it'll talk about the conversations he had with the military personnel. Who the hell are you? How'd you get this stuff? You're not supposed to know this stuff. Make him feel like, oh, I'm onto something, Scare him a little bit, but, give him enough that he's like he knows stuff that he shouldn't, even though the whole UFO community's been talking about this forever. And then push him into, oh, they had to do what they had to do. There was a threat there. We didn't want the public to get scared about all this stuff. Again, they've dealt with this stuff for 70 years. In the article, it says they've been dealing with this for 70 years. Okay? And we want to talk about a threat. Now, threats can come in, threats can come in many different shapes and sizes. That's why this is so hard for me to completely say I don't agree with everything. Because I'm definitely not on board with Stephen Greer saying all aliens are good. There's different agendas, and it's how you look at the agendas is how you feel about it. Because you can say, well, there's aliens that are coming here and are harvesting ovaries, and well, that's scary on the surface, but when you look at it, you know, if you had a contract with them in a previous lifetime to help with the hybridization program of children, that makes sense. See, it's, you just got to have the information so you can make sense out of this stuff. So the article continues. DeLong says, keep in mind what happened was I got into a position where I was knocking on doors and pitching away to have responsible, pitching away, there needs to be a space there, they put, whatever. Pitching away to have a responsible conversation, and it worked out. But it took me almost a year, and it took me ruffling a lot of feathers. Again, make him act like he's doing the work to get this to where it needs to be. That's all important about grooming some of this. And you can speak to his ego. They're using that ego. That's important when you're dealing with somebody who's got an ego. They can actually be driven. This is key. Our intelligence agencies spent decades working their way into social groups and organizations that are private dealing with this issue. And they did a really good job at discrediting that. They spent so much time discrediting this stuff, and now they got to backpedal because they made it look so kooky now that they're pushing against their own operation that they put into place. Because people can't take anything serious. You see a new UFO video every day of the week. No one gives a rat's ass anymore. And now they got to try to backpedal all that crap. These people get together, start talking about this stuff, and they don't know all the facts. Scares everybody, will cause a national conversation on the issue far earlier than they're willing to have it. And I believe I was watching a Stephen Greer lecture that he said it was actually part, well, again, that's part of the ego. That was the reason that he, doing all the stuff he did, is the reason that the timetable got stepped up. At the end of the day, I don't give a crap who does what. I want to get the stuff out. I want to get the technology out. People don't like doing what they like doing anymore. For that's a bad way to word it. You go to work and people are just so dissatisfied, and it's actually been amplified this year. You're just ready for a change. Thank God we got some relief with the tax cuts, but it's just nothing but that irk feeling. And I like, hats off to somebody like Shane Robinson. I seen him in the chat doing what you love doing and being able to live off of it. You got to have faith to do stuff like that. The article continues. DeLong says, I think their idea was smart. Let's keep everybody thinking this isn't real. Let's keep everybody thinking that there's nothing to see here while we actually got something, while we actually go somewhere very secret and learn as much as we can. Can you say Area 51 S4? Where they don't know what it is. Their test reverse engineered it. We built a whole civilization out in the galaxy through the projects. Oh, what the hell was it called? Just escaped my head. Oh, it'll come in my mind later. But it's all out there, folks. We got bases on the backside of the moon. We got civilizations on Mars. Oh, how do you know that? Witness testimony, gut feeling, listen to it. How does it feel to you? Article continues, people start making up conspiracies. Oh, it's about money, or they think we can't handle the truth. That's all bull. What it boils down to is that there is something here that moves 20,000 to 80,000 miles an hour that is using technologies that we don't understand. And we're starting to get a glimpse of what these things are doing, but we don't totally know why. We actually do. But it's, again, it's playing this card of push, pull, push, pull. I bet you it took them a while to figure out how to get this operation. How are we going to run this thing? How are we going to make it look like so we're not like fools of this stuff? And then they asked DeLong, do you believe that these are threats? He says, I do personally believe these are threats, or threats to aviation safety, military, and also people that are having encounters that deal with biological issues. Again, it's all how you look at it through the scope, folks. Is that a bad thing that they're coming at night, scaring the bejesus out of you to harvest your organs? Or did you agree to do that before in a past life with the whole hybridization program, or with the helping evolve of the Greys because they basically made themselves extinct in the future? There's a lot of layers to it. When you look at it, that is like, oh, okay, yeah. And a lot of times they wipe your memory anyway. I'm not condoning it 100%, but I understand why. We might find out one day that there's good ones and bad ones, and we might look back and go, oh, wow, that's what all our ancient texts described in some way. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. Through the ancient texts, through the government documents as well. Exactly why we've had this stuff already. And then it goes into more depth about he was meeting people from these organizations. When they made him put this stuff together, they said, is there anything else you need to complete your project to get this done? He says, I think maybe a sign-off from this group might be important. Of course, these guys don't want to take responsibility for it. He says, do you ask your father for permission after your mother's already given it to you? I said, no. He said, you've been given permission, shut the F up and get to work. I remember at that moment, it went from me and a project to me needing to execute the promises that I made. I made these promises to these guys. And another time when he was sitting down, and this is the big part, playing into the ego, very important. I need to know who the F you are. You know SH that you're not supposed to know, and I need to know why. And they can play it off pretty good. And he's like, oh, crap. You know, they scare him a little bit. And then they start encouraging him a little bit. And then it really builds a guy up. This is the story of the millennia. And I need to know why the F you know what you know. And for the future of this stuff, so I was asking this, how is this going to look in the future? Where else are they going? We're probably going to look at metamaterials. He says there's much more coming, and the people better hold on tight. To the Stars Academy is going to be doing some stuff here in the near future that will be responsible for changing the world. This is important. This is the disclosure. So when people poo-poo this and brush it off, don't brush this off. This is probably going to be the complete vehicle for the change. It's not going to be from a Stephen Greer documentary, even though those got tons of views, blew up, but they get buried. Why? Because they want to control the narrative. Chris Mellon, former Secretary of Defense for Intelligence at the Pentagon, had a plan early on of how we could create a template of getting information out, getting the right information to the right members of Congress, and getting national journalism involved. Oh, because the press is bought and paid for, folks. When you control it, you can do what you want with it. So now they're told to report on this. And they're doing it in such a way that the general public will hopefully finally start waking up to it, but it'll be on their terms. And let people start digesting this stuff. I think that was all I had. Oh, there's a couple more spots here yet. Yes, he just says it took him 25 years to digest this subject. 25 years he was looking at. You didn't come across Podesta and Clinton being corrupt. How? Because you sure, when you look into this stuff, it branches you out in one way. You're looking at simple nuts and bolts gray aliens on this one side, and then it shifts you to the other side, and all of a sudden you're looking at consciousness, and all of a sudden you're looking at, well, that's actually the last puzzle piece, I will say, the consciousness thing, because you got to go through the dark before you can get to the light. But you go through reptilian stuff, and that leads into the sacrifices and all that stuff. Jessica in the chat says, I started being conscious of out-of-body experiences a few years back. It's all real and crazy. Yeah, exactly. We need to realize that there's so much more to us than a body. And then here's the last part on the article that I do agree with DeLong on. We should not be killing each other over anything on this planet. So I agree with that, but why do we push this threat narrative that To the Stars Academy is pushing? It's because the government wants that there. They want to arm up so they can have a reason to fund all this stuff. Again, you get this information out and bring out the technologies. There's no reason to have money. That's the biggest thing right there. And that's where I want to get. I don't want to have to worry about money. We don't have to worry about where your next plate of food's going to come from. What it would just, and it's not like, you know, I'm saying I'm this broke guy or anything. It's more about having the ease in your mind. So many people are focused on their jobs, their day-to-day things, what they're going to do, living paycheck to paycheck. They got their kids to take care of, that they don't have time to look into this stuff. That's kind of what I wanted to look into, is how the viewership was for this, because this is on the History Channel. There's a lot of UFO shows on there. It'll get poo-pooed real easy. And that's a place where, and I think I was talking about this with somebody was it in the comment section? Yeah, one of the videos. They need to get this stuff on, like, I don't know how you would do it, but to the Dancing with the Stars and the freaking Kardashians and stuff like that. Make it sexy, make the topic sexy, to try to get it out there. Because when you look at the History Channel, the Sci-Fi Channel, or Discovery, a lot of that gets poo-pooed because there was just so much stuff. They made shows that there was nothing there, and they're trying to show that this was legit, but you got to wonder how it's going to get out to the public. Big time, big scale I'm talking about. So I'm trying to read the chat here. Give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. Game Boy in the chat says, "Are you light or dark? That's your choice." Absolutely. We all have a choice. You can choose what you want. And once you see how the lightness of everything makes you feel better, make you feel a lot ease and lighter. Makes you basically feel like you can start time shifting, if you will. So I wanted to see if there's any other questions or anything before I wrap up. I was hoping somebody would have called in and had a great discussion about, you know, if they watched it and seen what they've seen. This is important, folks. But thank you guys for joining me. I want the takeaway from this show is keep an eye on this thing. There's 5 more episodes. This is disclosure. You and I, people watching this show and other shows like this, going to the conferences, people are going to start coming to you for answers now, because you've been talking about this stuff for a long time. They thought you were crazy. Now you're going to start being vindicated. So when they start saying, well, what's this? We actually know what's going on. We had skin in the game. So be prepared for that. Things will get crazy. Chad says in the chat, in 1 month, the Roswell incident is 72 years old. Holy cow. Yeah. They knew about this stuff way back then. Oh my, and they want to push. They're doing all kinds of tricks, folks. With that, I'm going to go on ahead and close out the program. Thank you guys for joining me. And take care. Keep an eye on this stuff. Later. Bye-bye.